It's termite season.
Hi, it's me.
And bugs fear the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control.
Go blue at Essential Pest Control. We'll eliminate those bugs, bees, and termites. And stop paying too much to that national provider. Buy local for great service and affordable rates. Call Essential Pest Control because termites fear the blue.
Run for your life.
Call for the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control. 886-3029. That's 886-3029. Or check online at essentialpest.com.
This is Eb Wilkinson with Wilkinson Wealth Management, where we manage money for gun owners. What does it mean to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired? It means designing a plan that allows you to do the things you want to do, outpace inflation, and never run out of money in your lifetime. If you want to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired, call me, Eb Wilkinson, at 777-1911. That's 777-1911 or WilkinsonWealthMGMT.com.
I'm proud to welcome my good friends at Tucson Iron and Metal Retail to Inside Track as an advertiser. Jamie Kipper and her staff are conservation experts. They sell round and square steel tubing, metal plate and roofing materials, as well as new and used steel, aluminum, and stainless steel to ranchers, artists, interior designers, roofers, as well as you do-it-yourselfers out there. Tucson Iron and Metal Retail is open Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to noon. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail, 701 East 36th Street. Call 520-209-1576. That's 520-209-1576, or go to TucsonIronRetail.com. Come by and be sure to ask for Jamie. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail. This is what conservation and repurposing is all about.
Welcome to Inside Track with Bruce Ash and Ed Wilkinson on the Live the Dream Media Network.
Hello, everyone, and a very pleasant good morning to you, wherever you may be. Bruce Ash here today going solo. Eb's on assignment in Oklahoma, of all places. Welcome to the 50th edition of Inside Track. Woohoo! At the Live the Dream Media studios on the first anniversary here on this great studio and platform. It's been 30 years since my mentor, Emil Franzi, launched this show on radio. That's a pretty long time for him to have started that way in old times. I started as Franzi's sidekick in 2007. Eb and I continued the show after Franzi passed in 2017 and then moved over here last year, and this is actually episode 52 for us here at Live the Dream. Our audience today is 5 times larger than when we were on the radio. Many thanks to Clint Peak, David Samorano, and my friend Christy Simone here at LTD for their support. It's a great collaboration. In just a couple of minutes, we'll hear from our special guest, naval strength advocate, commentator, and author Seth Cropsey on his newest book, Breaking the New Axis, the U.S. Grand Strategy for Eurasia. Mr. Cropsey heads the Yorktown Institute and is one of America's most respected naval strategy policy scholars. In the second half of today's show, friend and local radio veteran, and dare I say legend, Charles Heller joins us to talk about America's 250th anniversary celebration here in Tucson and the public reading of our Declaration of Independence from the British Crown in 1776. Before we get started, as always, thanks for joining the media app or watching us on X, Facebook, YouTube, and our other platforms. The first half of today's show brought to you by our good friend Eric Rudin from Essential Pest Control. Call Essential to help keep your home or business free from all forms of insects, vermin, and weeds today. 886-3029 is the number. Spring is here and the long, hot summer is right around the corner. Bugs fear Essential. Call Essential Pest today to protect your home or business. Also supporting Inside Track is Eb's great company, Wilkinson Wealth Management. I'm a client along with my sister, and our other sponsors, Tucson Iron and Metal Surplus, the great conservationists, and my family-run company, Paul Ash Commercial Real Estate, where we make good things happen every day. Hey, let's get things going. Good morning to our special guest today. I think he's with us. That's right. That's his mug right there, Seth Cropsey from the Yorktown Institute. Before we get to your new book, Breaking the New Axis, the U.S. Grand Strategy for Eurasia, Seth, talk a little about the Yorktown Institute, which you head up.
Well, thank you, Bruce. It's nice to see you again, and congratulations on your anniversary.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
that's an accomplishment, important one. So we want to discuss. We want to look at the book first.
Just real quick, let's talk about Yorktown and the work
Oh,
generally.
Yorktown. I'm sorry. Okay, so Yorktown has been. I founded Yorktown 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. And our object is to advance a better understanding of the security challenges that the United States and its allies face today. That includes military across the board, cyber, naval, air, ground, economic, and diplomatic, and the coalitions that we are increasingly facing and that we must increasingly build. So, and we are want to make it clear as possible to the American people and our viewers and listeners why a serious increase in the defense budget is necessary, how the dangers that face the United States have changed, and not in a good way, since the end of the Cold War. So that's sort of a thumbnail description of Yorktown Institute.
Yeah, probably more important today than it's been in a long time. And glad that you're involved in this. You're a pro in this area. I noticed from the Yorktown website, former National Security Advisor Matt Pottinger is with Yorktown. I've spoken to Matt several times in the Trump 1.0 administration on Taiwan issues. He's brilliant, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Wicked smart.
Matt is exceptional.
Yeah, he is. Great.
That's why he's on our board.
That's right. There you go. So let's get to your book. Your publisher says the U.S. Naval Press says Breaking the New Axis is an indispensable read for policymakers, strategists, and anyone invested in global stability. And I'd go one step further, even for amateurs and avid, interested people like me. Tell us about the basic topic and theme of the book and why this book is especially important at this moment.
Well, the book is important at this moment because there has been, for years, a sort of policy establishment agreement that China is the biggest and most serious challenge facing the United States. And the argument of the book is that does not deny the importance of China. Rather, it explains why maintaining an American national security interest in Europe and the Middle East is equally important. And we simply cannot abandon what happens in Europe, for example, Ukraine, or the threat that Russia poses to the West, should they be successful in Ukraine, nor can we abandon the Middle East as an area of interest to the United States, because the productivity of Asia, the energy of the Middle East, and the financial institutions of Europe are all central to our security and fundamental to preventing crises there from reaching across the oceans and affecting us.
And we've probably seen evidence of that over the past, certainly the past year or so, and kind of fully engaged now with the events in Iran in that region, right?
Well, the President Trump said it himself a couple of weeks ago that what was going on in the Strait of Hormuz affected the whole world. And that was an implicit way of saying that it affected American interests.
Yeah. Talk about the relative naval strength of Russia, China, and Iran's navies, at least Iran prior to the U.S. Current operations there, versus America's, as well as our NATO and our Indo-Paki partners.
Well, the Iranian Navy is not much of a threat because it's lying on the floor of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a big problem. What they can do with small boats and the mines that they can lay with small boats, that is a problem. The Russian Navy is not the size and character that it was during the Cold War. Still, they have an impressive submarine fleet. They have surface forces, and although it has not been much of a help to them in the war against Ukraine, because the Ukrainians have been ingenious and successful in sinking Russian ships of size like cruisers. The Chinese Navy is another matter entirely. The you and your viewers might have noticed within the past week, or maybe 10 days, that the four-star Admiral Sam Paparo, who is the combatant commander for the US Indo-Pacific Command, said that he does not have enough ships. And what he means by that is that for the possible contingencies that we can imagine, for example, a war in the Taiwan Strait, the U.S. Comes up short. And that's because the Chinese have embarked on a shipbuilding program that also includes thousands of missiles and land-based naval air and a growing number of aircraft carriers over 20 years ago, well over 20 years ago, that now numbers more than the American fleet, and quantity makes a difference, although generally speaking, we maintain a qualitative edge in naval combatants over China. But the quantitative difference is significant when added to the number of missiles that they have and the intent of those missiles, which is to prevent American forces from reaching closer than 1,000 miles to the mainland China. So China is a serious naval threat.
So, Seth, your comments about the Strait of Taiwan are very much right on. A fellow, and I won't name names right now, but he's been on the show a few times, and he's a veteran of many combat situations in his long naval career, has said that he believes that two American submarines, either fast attack sub or boomers, um, if they were stationed in that area and the Chinese knew about it, they would be very, very reticent to attack Taiwan. Your thoughts on that?
Uh, we already have in the Seventh Fleet and the Indo-Pacific Command, to which Seventh Fleet reports, submarines. Two submarines would be very effective, but if you look at the island of Taiwan, you'll be reminded that it's impossible to be in two places at one time. So you might have one submarine covering the northern end of Taiwan and another the south. But that leaves open, for example, the east coast of Taiwan. Would those submarines be useful if the Chinese tried to mount an amphibious assault? Yes, they would. Would the quantitative difference between Chinese submarine fleet and its surface fleet and ours be significant? Yeah, it probably would be. So when Admiral Paparo says that we don't have enough ships, he's including submarines, and we have a problem making submarines.
We do.
Which is to say that we are behind the the Navy's schedule in building submarines, which called for years ago building two attack class Virginia class submarines and one boomer per year. And we're building 1.2 attack submarines. And in fact, two is not enough.
Right.
Also, something like 70 to 75% of all naval combatants that we're building are behind schedule. They are behind delivery schedule. So we do have a problem with the defense industrial base, not only in producing enough missiles and ammunition, but in producing enough ships. And that, if that goes on as the Chinese increase their output and build more carrier strike groups, that's not a good thing.
Let me get back to the book, and I want to read what defense expert H.R. McMaster says about your new book. Breaking the New Axis, a U.S. Grand Strategy for Eurasia, is a book to be read and heeded. Authors Seth Cropsey and Harry Hallam do more than just revise Sir Alfred Mackinder's prognosis at the end of the 19th century that who rules East Europe commands the heartland, who rules the heartland, pardon me, commands the world island, who rules the world island commands the world. They, meaning your book, provides a blueprint for ensuring that the principal revisionist powers of Eurasia, Russia, and the People's Republic of China do not rewrite the books, the rules of international discourse in their favor. Talk about that, because that is a chilling sort of a warning, and that's part of the beauty of the work that you and Harry have done.
Well, the Mackinder and Speckman analysis, their observations, their insights are that the productivity of the countries within Eurasia, but that do not touch the ocean, must get to market through the ocean. And that means that the countries surrounding Russia and China, for example, and the Middle East, that their access to the sea is critical in determining the competition that is now on between the United States and what we call the new axis, which consists of Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. Um, so if the if those countries have unmolested access to the sea through the littoral states that surround them, we have a problem. Dealing with the Iranian Navy, for example, is not a big deal. Um, Dealing with the Chinese Navy is a big deal.
Right. Yet those littoral ships and assets that the Iranians have and are employing them to some degree of success in the strait have been sort of like a nasty gnat that we keep trying to shoo away. Um, but keeping the strait closed right now and keeping the embargo um, may do more damage to Iran than military airstrikes and bombardments and what have you. And it seems to me anyway, and I hear this also in the news, that a lot of people feel that that may be the strategy that ends up um, curing this problem that we've had with Iran for the last 47 years. Your thoughts on that?
Well, um, if American political leadership, which is to say the executive and the legislative branches, can endure the economic pain of increasing gas prices, then for 6 months, or about the time that the limit of the time that it would take to clear the Strait of Hormuz of mines, that strategy, that approach will work. It's possible that the mine clearance could be done earlier than that, but it's best to assume the worst. And 6 months is a long time. I passed a gas station this morning where premium gas was over $6 a gallon.
Hmm.
And most people don't need premium gas, but you can't help noticing that gas is at least $1 more per gallon today than it was a year ago.
Sure.
Sure. So um, uh, the economic approach, the opening of the strait would reduce the price of gas. But if it takes 6 months, it becomes a question of will. And the Iranian rulers don't really care too much about the opinion of their subjects. So even if there is another protest movement, and even if our intelligence agencies are supplying potential opposition and opposition leaders with weapons, it's still, it still requires a large amount of political will, not only from us, but from our our friends and allies around the world who don't have the access to energy that we do in the United States. But still, the price of gas, the price of a barrel of crude oil, is determined not locally but globally.
Yep.
So that gives us that reduces the advantage we have by virtue of our abundant supply of energy.
As a lay observer, it seems like the very inexpensive drone technology, the fast boat strategy being used in the Middle East and the Strait of Hormuz, super fast rockets pose a significant threat against our very expensive ships and aircraft. what's the answer against these very cheap weapons who target our ships, and what is American industry and the defense industry specifically doing to get new product out as fast as possible, as efficiently as possible, and as inexpensive as possible to be used in this operation and elsewhere in various parts of the world?
Well, the Pentagon has increased the amount of money that it that it spends on counter drone technology and on drones from the millions to the billions, and that will produce results. Whether the results come in time to be applicable to Iran is another question. Everything in the defense world, let's just say equipment in the defense world, is not made easily. It takes a long time to make. Missiles, of course, take less time to make than ships. Ships take years, a decade to make a ship. For example, an aircraft carrier, or this very large cruiser or battleship, as President Trump calls it.
Right.
And I think that the Defense Department team in place right now understands the importance of increasing the number of weapons that we have, replenishing our ammunition stocks, building cheaper drones faster, and making changes in the procurement process that will provide accountability as well as faster production times. But we're looking at a problem here that has accumulated over the time of 40 to 50 years.
Right.
And it can't be solved by signing documents. Signing documents is important, but so much of the defense procurement process is tied down by the number of organizations and people who have to sign off on things, who have a say in what the weapons look like, in how they're produced, in the numbers that they're made in, that it has turned into a process that is muscle bound. And this administration, if it did nothing else, were it to succeed in copying or at least reproducing the sort of effectiveness that the information technology industry has, it would be an extraordinary accomplishment.
So, in terms of this gap we have, the period of time it takes between inspiration, development, and then construction, and then implementation of the field, many years. It's sort of amazing when you look back at the Second World War, from the time they said we're going to build the Pentagon, which was at that time the largest building in the entire world, from that order to first people moving in was about 18 months. It takes so much longer to now build any of these weapons, and we saw that John Phelan was dismissed as Secretary of Navy. A Orthodox US Navy captain now is at Navy. Is it possible for the Secretary of the Navy, and we've had some great ones over the years, is it possible for the Secretary of the Navy to make the kind of changes needed quickly that are needed for the cruiser ship that you mentioned before, the submarines and so on. And let's just limit it to the Navy at this time because that's where Secretary Cow is located. Your thoughts on that? We just have a couple of minutes.
If he has the cooperation of the Secretary of Defense and the President, then there are all kinds of sweeping changes that could be made. But again, there are so many organizations, joint organizations, Navy organizations, the books that govern defense acquisition regulations, the DAR, so-called DAR, would fill a small library, and then next to it would be a larger library of the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulations. When you tie yourself in a knot like that, the sword that breaks the Gordian knot is a dull instrument for what needs to be done.
Might we require an emergency declaration in order to supersede DAR and FAR?
It could, but we also have this huge organization within the Navy called the Naval Sea Systems Command, known as NAVC. They insist on, or they want continually, to make changes in weapons that are platforms, ships that are being designed as they make the changes. And if you're building a house and you put the plumbing in, and then the following week, the architect comes back and says, wait, I have a better idea. And it requires removing the plumbing that you've put in and placing it in another area of the house, it's going to cause you a delay. And if you multiply that change in that house by 10 or 15, you have a problem that the Navy has not been able to handle, has not been able to address over many years. And that's just the Naval Sea Systems Command. That doesn't include the joint organizations that look at plans and the offices in the Office of the Secretary of Defense that are looking over the shoulder of people who are building weapons and making changes as well. So it's a mess.
Well, two men, I think a lot of people, including myself, appreciate their service to our country. Admiral Stavridis and also former Secretary of the Navy John Lehman think a lot of the work that you and your co-author have done on this book. I highly recommend it. How do our viewers find and buy your book, Seth?
Well, it's available from the Naval Institute Press, which you can look up online under Naval Institute Press, US Naval Institute Press. And it's also available on Amazon.
And the Naval Press Institute is a great resource for all things in this area, which I heartily recommend. Look, Seth, you're looking great after your shoulder surgery. Thanks for rearranging your schedule around for us. Best of luck to you on the new book, which is Breaking the New Axis, a U.S. Grand Strategy for Eurasia. It's time for us to pay some bills, no channel flipping. So after we hear from the folks who help us pay the man and stay on the air, we'll be right back with Liberty Watch host Charles Heller. Stay tuned.
You're listening to with Bruce Ash on the Live the Dream Media Network. Now a word from our sponsor.
It's termite season.
Hi, it's me.
And bugs fear the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control.
Go blue at Essential Pest Control. We'll eliminate those bugs, bees, and termites. And stop paying too much to that national provider. Buy local for great service and affordable rates. Call Essential Pest Control because termites fear the blue.
Run for your life.
Call for the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control. 886-3029. That's 886-3029. Or check online at essentialpest.com.
This is Eb Wilkinson with Wilkinson Wealth Management, where we manage money for gun owners. What does it mean to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired? It means designing a plan that allows you to do the things you want to do, outpace inflation, and never run out of money in your lifetime. If you want to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired, call me, Eb Wilkinson, at 777-1911. That's 777-1911 or WilkinsonWealthMGMT.com.
I'm proud to welcome my good friends at Tucson Iron and Metal Retail to Inside Track as an advertiser. Jamie Kipper and her staff are conservation experts. They sell round and square steel tubing, metal plate and roofing materials, as well as new and used steel, aluminum, and stainless steel to ranchers, artists, interior designers, roofers, as well as you do-it-yourselfers out there. Tucson Iron and Metal Retail is open Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to noon. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail, 701 East 36th Street. Call 520-209-1576. That's 520-209-1576, or go to TucsonIronRetail.com. Come by and be sure to ask for Jamie. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail. This is what conservation and repurposing is all about.
Does your ordinary radio feel a little limited? If you're looking for a new way to listen, it's time for a fresh start. Introducing the Live the Dream Media app, your premier destination and a new level up for digital radio. Over the last 2 years, we've found new ways to ensure your digital radio experience is the best it can possibly be. From live podcasts that spark new perspectives to a 24/7 soundtrack of live music, and even our built-in merch store, we've built a platform that is convenient, high quality, and simple to navigate. But we're only just getting started. Catch all of our shows weekly and join the Live the Dream Media family today and help us change the airwaves forever. Download it for free on the App Store or Play Store today. Live the dream. The dream starts now.
Welcome back to Inside Track. This portion of the show brought to you by Eb's great company, Wilkinson Wealth Management. Eb helps my family, and he can help yours as well. Let Eb comfortably guide you and your family to a secure retirement. Wilkinson Wealth Management. Call him today at 777-1911. Inside Track also brought to you by Essential Pest Control, Tucson Iron and Metal Retail, and my family's company, Paul Ash Commercial Real Estate, where our great team make great things happen every day. I am pleased and honored to welcome my friend, Charles Heller, to the microphones and cameras of Inside Track. How long have you been on the radio with your shows, which are America's Fabric, Swap Shop, Liberty Watch, and America Armed and Free, Charles?
28 years.
28?
Well, 28 years on May 17th.
Yeah.
It's
amazing.
May 16th, but yeah. We're going to have a big party and prop the door open and have a potluck.
So before we get to our topic here about the Declaration of Independence, just talk briefly about each of the shows, starting with America's Fabric all the way through America Armed and Free.
America's Fabric was started by Professor John McElroy.
A great man.
And a great man who is still with us.
Yes.
And he is, it was about America's history and culture, coming from his experience of being actually a man of the left and getting his PhD at Duke and teaching at University of Wisconsin-Madison, and watching the counterculture movement happen right in front of him,
right,
and eventually moving to the right, and then coming full force into the cancel culture and realizing how toxic it was. He's now written 9 books.
Right.
He's a fascinating man,
Yeah,
and
is.
a mellifluous voice.
Right. He's got the best voice, I think,
Yes.
here in town.
Yes, he does. Yeah, a word I
Swap
learned
Shop.
from Paul Harvey. Swap Shop is the unregulated free market governed only by common courtesy and common sense. People are free to call in, buy, sell, trade, and ask for anything they want, and I make fun of their stuff, play sound effects, read significant obituaries, and take whatever they say as a prompt for stand-up comedy while sitting down.
So you've sort of expanded the rationale, if you will, for Swap Shop, because it's not just about selling and swapping stuff. Lots of people call in, have a comment. You have lots of comments that you provide and talk a little about the news at the same time. Sometimes, there's more people calling in for swapping and shopping than others, but, you manage to fill the time pretty efficiently.
It's the true radio box of chocolates.
You never know.
You never know what you're going to get.
That's right.
And it's just, I don't do a great Forrest Gump, but it is sort of the Forrest Gump of radio. It just sort of materializes within whatever is going on and has light commentary.
Yeah.
I try to keep it as apolitical as possible. It really is what Jennifer English calls the test kitchen of the free market, where people can actually, you can't put an ad for your handgun in the Daily Star. Does it even exist anymore?
Right.
The Red Star Rising. You can't put an ad in there to sell your pistol if you want to. You can on the swap shop. I encourage sales in a lawful way.
Exactly.
And I instruct people on how to be careful about doing that and how to stay within Arizona law and U.S. law on how to do that. But yeah, you can sell a machine gun if you want,
right,
as long as it's on the proper federal paperwork.
Right.
So.
Your next show that you do is Liberty Watch.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about Liberty Watch and some of the super interesting conversations that you have, not only with callers, but the guests that you have, because you've been doing for the last several months, maybe a year or so, sort of these in-depth conversations, deep dives into the Federalist Papers, which I think are fascinating.
Oh, thank you. I have a brilliant fellow by the name of Philip Williams who owns his own outfit called the Numbers Advisors, and he has run the largest legal office in southern Arizona for 5 years. He ran a company called BBSI, which is business services, and they do compliance with OSHA and things like that. And he's able to manage people who can do that. The man is cleanly brilliant. He's a former nuclear engineer, qualified on all three types of naval reactors.
Yeah, he was on naval ships, right?
Yeah, he was on submarines. Yeah. He was a submariner. Yeah, and he's got stuff he still can't talk about. I ask him detailed questions, and he says, I still can't talk about that. About the
I can only go so far.
About the maneuvering room, which to me is the most fascinating part of a nuclear vessel. It's not about the torpedo tubes. They haven't changed in 100. God bless John Holland. The torpedo tubes are still made of the same stuff and the same basic technology with more pressure gauges than they ever had. The fascinating part to me is about what makes the boat go. And even today at the Nautilus Museum, you can't go past frame 57, which is just behind the control room. You still can't go into the nuclear space, because evidently control rooms haven't changed that much since the time of the Nautilus, and you could learn a lot if you wanted to make one by looking at it. Right. And I promise you I won't copy it. I would really love to put my hand in this space.
And you love submarines. You talk about submarines a lot. You've done personal work
tours. I went to sea on the Tucson for a day, and I rode the whole trip in the control room, and they allowed me to call the dive and sound the klaxon. Which is just
how fun.
Which is just honking a horn and saying dive twice with dramatic effect, okay? But scrape me off the overhead, that was better than sex. It just was.
I wasn't going to go there, but I'm glad you did.
Oh, yeah, I could make more analogies that way, but I'm not going to screw up your content.
America.
Liberty Watch is about maintaining a free country, making sure government remains servant, not master, based on the theory that if you want an informed electorate, you must have information that doesn't put people to sleep and is done on a knowledge basis, not on an emotion basis. And that's Liberty Watch. America Armed and Free is about things with a muzzle, a nozzle, or a blade, things that fly, shoot, or cut. And based on 31 years of teaching the Arizona Concealed Weapons Permit class and understanding the laws, the mechanics of the laws behind the use of force in self-defense, and also a little bit about my dad was a tanker in World War II, and he was a firearms instructor. I'm a firearms instructor. I understand a little bit of the physics of firearms. I'm not an expert in I'm an expert in the laws on the use of force in self-defense, but I'm not an expert in any one particular gun or thing that goes bang, but I have a good, broad, general knowledge.
I've never heard a caller or a guest, for that matter, that you're talking to where you haven't known about whatever that weapon is, that kind of weird
it's happened to me.
Or very obscure.
It's happened a couple times.
You've only been doing it for like 1,000 years, though. A couple times is pretty good.
Once when the only time my son ever called in, I didn't recognize his voice. He said Glenn. I should have got it at that point. And he has a corrected speech impediment, which from a cleft palate originally. And I should have recognized his voice. I didn't through the headphones. And I was interviewing Mr. DeSoma, who is now of blessed memory, who owned Patriot Ordnance Factory in Phoenix. And we were talking about the inside of an AR-15. And I own AR-15s. I can work on them, to clean them, but I can't build one myself. That's above my level of technical expertise. Glenn asked a question about the operation of the inside of an AR-15. The question went over my head, and the answer went over my head, and I sat there with a stupid expression on my face for about 4.5 minutes. And then it suddenly dawned on me. I recognized his voice. I said, is this my Glenn? He goes, yeah. And I said, your question was over my head and so was the answer. He goes, that's okay. I'll explain it to you later.
That's a great story. I'd never heard that before.
Oh, yeah.
So you have lots of people who are in the firearms rights arena.
Yeah.
And somebody that I respect an awful lot, and I don't mind saying it, he thinks I'm an ass, is Alan Corwin.
Yes.
I think Alan is one of the brightest guys.
Absolutely. Cleanly brilliant.
He is.
P.S. He irritates me too, but I love him.
Right. That was.
He's extremely irritating, and I love him.
Right. And so while he typically will not take time out of his schedule to do a radio show, he occasionally does your show.
Yes. Alan is.
Which I think is a tribute to the work that you do in this area.
Well, I've been at it a long time. I've been an activist for 38 years now, and I'm co-founder of the Arizona Citizens Defense League, which is the primary.
Which is a very effective organization.
74 good gun laws over the last 20 and 3/4 years, signed by 4 governors. One of whom got along well with us up to a point. One of whom was allegedly our friend until he started dropping stuff that was anti-freedom, and one who roundly hates us and won't meet with us, the current one. She won't even give us a time of day. She'll meet with the opposition, but she won't meet with the freedom side of the equation. It's truly unfortunate because you can disagree and you can not hold the same core beliefs as other people in the same polity, but to exclude them, to excommunicate them is very un-Arizonic.
Yeah, I agree. So our country celebrates our 250th anniversary on July 4th. You've been doing something symbolic and special on the 4th of July for a long time. Tell us what is so special about Independence Day that makes publicly reading the words of our founders and fathers now 250 years later.
I take your brilliantly phrased question, but I disagree with its basis.
Okay.
I don't think it's symbolic. I think it's both symbolic and substantive.
I agree.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
It's both.
It's both. And it's symbolic in that this is a shining light that we aspire to, the principles in the Declaration, the basic premise being that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain, well, I say unalienable, in other words, a lien cannot be put against them, unalienable or unalienable rights. And that's the basis, that's the center core of the Declaration. And philosophically, it's true. It is what the word you use, not ceremonial, but symbolic, right?
Symbolic.
Right. It is symbolic. That's true. However, the problem, this is why we go to synagogue every week, okay? You go to synagogue not because you need to remind God of anything. You go there to remind yourself to stay in tune with God.
Great point.
Okay, yeah. And the same thing is true of the Declaration of Independence, writ small, is that in order to keep these symbols of government forefrontless between thine eyes, you need to keep reiterating them. You need to keep winding them around your hand in order for there to be.
It's a great reference to the Wehrhafta and phylactery.
Right, exactly.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Right. But we need to treat it as if it were religious principle. And the way you treat something as religious principle is you practice the religion. And the way you practice the religion is you go and daven the Declaration, okay? You repeat the Declaration, not just...
And to hear those words not just to read them, but to hear those words, I think is exceptionally brilliant an idea that you've been doing now for how many years?
Well, it was Emil's idea. It wasn't mine. Okay. But the point of the matter is...
You've been doing it.
I've been doing it. Right. And 90% of activism is showing up. Okay. This is what some people don't understand. I get this just unmitigated excrement from people sometimes that, oh, I don't like the way the country is going, so I'm not going to go to that. And it's like, fool. The country wasn't made for you. It was made for everybody that believes in, that embraces the principle, that imbues the principles of liberty and tries to imbue their life with them and live their life based on those principles. Okay, $5 fine. I just hit the microphone. But the point is that I want people, I want to empower people to take advantage of that. There's this wonderful source of energy and power available. All you have to do is plug into the socket of it. And the way you plug yourself into the socket of it is you reiterate it. And you what you do is you make it your own. Okay, everybody has a context for meaning. Everybody has an interpretive filter for the way they see things. This is a way of bypassing all the filtering systems that people have and having them imbue the concepts that America was conceived in liberty and imbuing it and making it their own. Because this is like the Vulcan Idic, infinite beauty and infinite diversity. Okay, there are many different ways to express liberty. There's as many ways to express it as there are people that are out there. Look at what's happening with AI right now. It's because in America is leading, and we need to keep that lead, because the God-imbued spirit of creativity is expressing through us, and now we have the technological means to do it, provided we don't engineer our own demise.
Right.
In so doing. The point is that all this energy is available to us if we just stick our finger in that socket. And people are saying, I don't want to, or I don't want to go out, it's hot outside, or whatever it is they're saying.
Well, let's focus on the positive.
Right.
You've I think in 2025 you got about 112 or 118 or so people to the event. What your goal this year is to have 250 because it's the 250th anniversary, right?
And I think we'll exceed that. We're advertising on 3 radio stations. You're
advertising here.
I'm advertising here on the internet and on podcast. I'm actually doing some social media on it, even though my presence in social media is limited. I actually put a notice of the event on a neighborhood app called Nextdoor.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I actually published...
You'd be surprised how many people show from that.
Yeah, I will. I'll be pleasantly surprised. Yeah. And the other thing I did was I have a copy of the Declaration of Independence, which I broke into 27 parts. And I have a PDF. Anybody, is it okay to give out my email address?
Yeah.
It's charles@libertywatchradio.com. And anyone that wants to send me...
Speed of the pen.
Pardon? At the speed of the pen. And anyone that wants to email me at charles@libertywatchradio.com. I will send them this document, PDF. I won't spam them. I do have a list of everybody I send it to because I want to keep sending it out every year. And don't just go to my event on the 4th of July at 8:30 in the morning at Udall Park in front of the rec center.
Cool at 8:30 in the morning.
Right, underneath the tree of liberty, right out front. And bring a folding chair. If you're not a person who can stand for a half hour, bring a folding chair. Bring a table if you want. It's fine. But anyway, bring breakfast. It's fine without, and bring lots of water to give away to other people too. And a cooler. It's fine. But anyway, don't just come to my event. Have your own event. Even if it's just at your family table, get 5, 6, 7 copies, whatever you need of this. Print them out. It's only 3 pages, front and back on the first page and front on the third page. And just read it together. It's broken into 27 parts. Go around the table and read it, and then read the last sentence together about pledging our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor.
Which they did at risk to themselves and their families.
Absolutely. And you know how loud it resounded? Do you know how much that it's still, that the echoes of that are still founding? The guy that is the descendant of the one we rebelled against just came before our joint Senate and House and talked about how wonderful it's resulted.
Right.
That's what you call an effective movement. When the descendant of the guy we rebelled against comes to us, he humbles himself to come before our House and Senate and stand there and talk about the shared principles of liberty. That's what I call success. And we need to have people in America who trumpet that victory, who are proud of it. Not people who say, well, we formed a perfect union. People who say, because we want to help form a more perfect union. To have people who say, we want to help, we want to participate. What can I do to help? That's what you can do.
So, question for you.
Mm-hmm.
50 years ago, we celebrated the bicentennial.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what you were doing on the bicentennial that day?
That was 1976. I know that in the evening, I watched a concert that was conducted by Arthur Fiedler of the Boston Pops with a fireworks display at the end. But I don't remember and I do remember that I watched.
Because you were in Chicago at that time, right?
Yeah, 76.
Maybe Grants Park?
Well, there was a big one in Grant Park, and Grant Park, what they did was they had the Chicago Symphony, CSO, Chicago Symphony Orchestra, but they had, I think it was the 8th Armored Division, and they brought out the 155 howitzers.
Nice.
And for the 1812, kaboom! Oh, and there were star shells bursting over Lake Michigan. And if it didn't bring you to tears, you don't have emotions.
Right.
I mean, but it was fun to watch the people in the park, because when the 155s went off, a lot of them were sitting cross-legged, sort of in the lotus position, and for a moment they levitated because of the shockwave of the 155 millimeter howitzer.
That's a great story.
It was wonderful. But I know I watched that. I don't remember, and I know I watched some videotape of Constitution 44, not USS Constitution. Right. You call a ship of fighting sail by her name, comma, her guns. So Constitution 44 was on
Charles is a bit of a stickler for details.
Let me tell you something. I have done a tour of Constitution 44 that most people don't do. Did you get to the bottom deck?
Well, I think so.
The Orlop deck, okay? There's only 15% of Constitution 44 that's original. Most of that 15% is the keel and the keelson. The keelson is the piece of wood on top that holds the keel in. And Josiah Humphreys, who built that boat.
I wasn't down there. Yeah.
Josiah Humphreys, who built that ship, okay, had his hands on it. And so did I. I put my hands on it. Because when I go to visit a ship, a submarine, a boat, a whatever, I try to get, if it's landed, I try to get underneath it and put my hands on the hull. When I visit, I touch the hull of the vessel. I try and feel, and that's obviously I'm anthropomorphizing something that isn't animate, but still I try to be in touch with it. I was on board Silverside's 236 when they moved her in Chicago from the river side of the pier to the lake side of the pier. We had to take her out a mile under tow and take her into the harbor. And of course, Captain Schmidt had to put a broom on the periscope and raise the periscope to look like we'd fired all our torpedoes coming in. But I'll tell you, traffic on Lakeshore Drive came to a total standstill watching, because not that many people had seen a submarine steam into harbor. And I was on board when it happened. And they sent me below to get a wrench during the transit, and the generator ran out of gas on top of the deck. So there I was alone in the boat, underway, and I could hear the sound of the lake lapping on the hull and the sound of voices in the crew, because there's lots of holes in the hull now. And I got some sense of what it might have been like to be underway under wartime conditions. And it still vibrates in me. I got cut several times on her doing work. I'm hoping some little bit of her is still circulating.
Well, we don't have time to go any further for today. We're up against the clock, and we need to close up today's show. Charles, thanks for taking the time to visit with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for keeping this tradition alive in southern Arizona.
Can I say the time again?
Please.
8:30 a.m. we gather at Udall Park at 7300 or so East Tanque Verde in front of the Recreation
Sabino
Center.
Canyon and
on
Tanque
the
Verde.
Tanque Verde side. And there's a giant tree there, the Tree of Liberty, I call it. And we're going to gather at 8:30. We're going to set up, pass out copies of the Declaration. 9 o'clock exactly, we start the read. And it only takes about 7 minutes.
Well, I listen to all your shows. I have it in my ear when I'm doing yard work outside, whether it's here or elsewhere. And I encourage everybody to become a regular listener as well. Join Charles and a whole bunch of fellow patriots to bring the Declaration of Independence to life again this year on America's 250th birthday. It's time for us to close up shop for the day. Thanks so much for spending time with us. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Many thanks to our special guest, Yorktown Institute leader and naval strategy expert, Seth Cropsey, as well as our good friend, Charles Heller. All of our Inside Track podcasts are available on the Live the Dream Media Network's Facebook page, YouTube, Apple, and X. Before we close, something you need to know. I need to remind you that our friend Christy Simone is running for Oro Valley Council. All successful campaigns depend upon financial support. Go to his campaign website, Chris, spell out Chris4, F-O-R, OV.com, Chris4OV.com. Let Chris know him by supporting his campaign like I did, whether it's $5 or $5,000. Thanks for joining us today on Inside Track. Please tune in again next week when we have another action-packed show planned for you. Until then, for Eb Wilkinson, this is Bruce Ash. See you again in 167 hours.
You're listening to Inside Track with Bruce Ash on the Live the Dream Media Network. Now a word from our sponsor.
It's termite season.
Hi, it's me.
And bugs fear the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control.
Go blue at Essential Pest Control. We'll eliminate those bugs, bees, and termites. And stop paying too much to that national provider. Buy local for great service and affordable rates. Call Essential Pest Control because termites fear the blue.
Run for your life.
Call for the blue trucks from Essential Pest Control. 886-3029. That's 886-3029. Or check online at essentialpest.com.
This is Eb Wilkinson with Wilkinson Wealth Management, where we manage money for gun owners. What does it mean to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired? It means designing a plan that allows you to do the things you want to do, outpace inflation, and never run out of money in your lifetime. If you want to retire comfortably and remain comfortably retired, call me, Eb Wilkinson, at 777-1911. That's 777-1911 or WilkinsonWealthMGMT.com.
I'm proud to welcome my good friends at Tucson Iron and Metal Retail to Inside Track as an advertiser. Jamie Kipper and her staff are conservation experts. They sell round and square steel tubing, metal plate and roofing materials, as well as new and used steel, aluminum, and stainless steel to ranchers, artists, interior designers, roofers, as well as you do-it-yourselfers out there. Tucson Iron and Metal Retail is open Monday through Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to noon. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail, 701 East 36th Street. Call 520-209-1576. That's 520-209-1576. Or go to TucsonIronRetail.com. Come by and be sure to ask for Jamie. Tucson Iron and Steel Retail. This is what conservation and repurposing is all about.